in December of 2010, I attended the second preview of Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, the biggest, most expensive Broadway show ever. Then in May, I attended the first preview of Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark 2.0, and this is my comparison. I need to start this review of Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark 2.0 by pointing out that I'm a big Spider-Man fan, and I loved Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark 1.0, but that's not to say that it didn't have its flaws, obviously. I did a full review of that back when I first saw it. You can check it out by clicking right here. I was really excited to see the second version of the show because, like I said, I know that the original version had flaws, and I was really curious to see what they fixed, what they changed, and I'm happy to say that, just in general, Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark version 2.0 is much better than 1.0. There are some things that I like and dislike about 2.0 versus 1.0, but I have to say that if you haven't seen 1.0, 2.0 is definitely better, just in general, because if you have nothing to compare it to like I do, you will probably just enjoy it a lot more than you would have seeing 1.0, and that's a really good thing, I think. So, right off the bat, congratulations to them for kind of fine-tuning the show and making it work better. Now, like I said, I'm a big Spider-Man fan. I bought the shirt, and I'm very proud to wear it. I wore it to the opening night of 2.0, and let me tell you, when I was walking in, I was probably the only person wearing this shirt. And I don't know, I was probably one of the few people that saw 1.0 and came back for version 2.0, the first showing. And so when I was walking into the theater, everyone, all the press were taking my picture, and I was like, I'm back, I love it, I'm supporting it. And, you know, it was hilarious because everyone else was, like, looking around like, you know, doesn't he know that it sucks? And I'm like, forget you, I think it's awesome. And the reason that I have to say I think it's awesome is because I don't know why, but first of all, Spider-Man, yeah, he's my favorite, really, he's my favorite superhero. And for some reason, I get really emotional when Spider-Man takes flight, when he swings around. And I can't explain it, honestly. When he flies around in this Broadway show, it's like magic. And when he lands right in front of you, by the way, just so you know, I sit in the flying circle, which is like the first balcony. I did for the first show and for the second one, and I always would. I think it's perfect. But when he lands in front of you, there's like kids in the audience, right? And he lands, and, you know, for example, you are me, and I'm Spider-Man, ready? I land on the balcony, and I look back at the kids, and I wave, I give a little one-liner, and then I take off to go fight the Goblin. And, I don't know, it's so magical and amazing. And I'm very comfortable saying that, because I think it's fantastic, and it just makes me really happy. So, I have no problem admitting that it just makes me feel very, almost like overwhelmed. But that's a huge reason that I love the show. So right off the bat, you know that, you know, if that doesn't matter to you, if you don't think, you know, if you don't care about it, if you don't think it's magical at all to see Spider-Man flying around in front of you, if you don't care about that, then that's a huge thing that you're not gonna enjoy about the show, you know? So, let's get that out of the way. That is a huge reason that I love the show. Now, I thought that visually the show, both versions of it, it is brilliant. I think Julie Taymor did an amazing job. She is a great director, and I was upset that they kind of like kicked her out because the only problem is that she should not have ever written the book for the show. I don't know what business she had doing that, but she's a great director, but I don't know, you know, about other things she's written in the past, but yeah, that I think was the biggest flaw with the show. Her directing was not the problem, although I guess eventually, you know, she couldn't step back and see what the flaws were with the show, so she kind of, I can understand why they wanted to bring someone else in as a creative consultant, director, whatever. But the other big problem with the show is the music. Now, I gotta complain about this because Bono is kind of acting like a complete douchebag because he actually was kind of like knocking Julie Taymor as if the music isn't a big flaw with the show. And not the music so much as the lyrics. Some of the lyrics are terrible. Like, oh my god, terrible. Some of them are great. Some of the songs I think are excellent, and I really love them. But, yeah, the lyrics, some of the lyrics are really like, really, Bono? You wrote this? Like, aren't you supposed to be famous for writing music? You wrote this? So, yeah, Bono should maybe get off his high horse a little bit because he is not a god here. He has some of the blame, for sure. So, you know, it still has flaws because most of the songs are the same, obviously. Most of the story is the same, however, they've moved it around and made it make a whole lot more sense, and it's so much more coherent. For example, I'm not spoiling anything, by the way, but the end of Act 1 was like really the big climax, and then Act 2 was like boring as hell in version 1.0. Now they've taken the end of Act 1 and put it at the end of Act 2, so that the entire show is building up to the climax. I mean, hello, that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So, yeah, 1.0 didn't make any sense in that sense. I said sense a whole lot just now. But, yeah, they basically, they fixed it. They definitely fixed that, which is a good thing. But now the problem is that since they've kind of cut a lot of stuff, Arachne-related stuff really, more than anything, which Arachne is like the mythological spider goddess or something like that, and she kind of communicates with Peter. That was like all of Act 2, and it was so weird and slow. But now, they've cut a lot of that, and the problem is that they've got a lot less material spread out for the same amount of time, so it still feels a little bit lacking. Now keep in mind, I saw the show, the first preview of 2.0, so maybe they fixed stuff since then, but I'm going with, the first preview here. So that's the only problem. I still think it's better. I still think it's much more coherent, and in general better for people that have nothing to compare it to, that haven't seen 1.0. But, yeah, for me who has seen both, it definitely felt weird because it felt like it was missing a lot of stuff, which it was. One of the major great things about 2.0 versus 1.0 is that the geek chorus is gone. Now, the geek chorus was, the way that the show was worked out in 1.0 was that it was a group of kids writing a comic book, and when it would cut to, the show with Spider-Man and everything, that was the comic book they were writing. But the kids were a pain in the ass. They were so damn annoying. And I think they were like the biggest complaint people had. They've been completely cut from the show. And good riddance. Honestly, good riddance. Now, the way that the show works is it's actually just the story. It's not like someone writing a comic book. We're just watching the story. And it actually starts with Spider-Man setting up the myth of Arachne that the kids had set up. So, I think it works, and definitely the geek chorus, I'm glad to see them gone. I'm sure they're all nice people, but they were really, really annoying. And just some other good things about 2.0 versus 1.0 are that they cut out the fashion show scene and kind of changed it up a little bit. It's similar, but it's not exactly the same, thank God, because this fashion show thing, I don't even want to talk about it. It was awful. And then something I really don't want to talk about, but I have to mention is, there was an entire musical number about one of the villains stealing shoes from around New York City. Stealing shoes because she loved fashion and she loved shoes. And, yeah, that was really in 1.0, I swear to God. And Bono has the nerve to not act like he has to share some of the blame. But anyway, that has been completely cut from the show, thank God. There was cool costumes in that scene with like a bunch of legs, but that was awful. That was, thank God that's gone. That's all I can say. Thank God that is gone. But just overall in general, I'm glad that they made some changes and stuff, even though obviously since I can compare, it felt weird to see it just because I was like, oh, what happened to this? This is gone, this is gone. But overall in general, I had to look at it kind of from like a third-person perspective that hasn't seen 1.0. Definitely 2 thumbs up from me. It's a better show now, it's a more coherent show, and I think that people who only see 2.0 that didn't see 1.0 will enjoy it. Any kids that go see it, man, they're going to have an absolute blast. More so now than they would have because they would have fallen asleep in Act 1 of 1.0. But, Act 2. They would have fallen asleep in Act 2 of 1.0. But, yeah. I like it a lot. I love this show, really, and I had so much fun, and I'm just thinking right now about, like, little kids seeing the show and how much of a blast and how magical it is. And just, yeah, I am kind of upset when I see people being cynical about it that haven't even seen the show and they're like, this is a travesty, this shouldn't be on Broadway, and I'm like, first of all, see it first. See it before you knock it, at least. And then if you really don't like it, then you can knock it. But if you're just knocking it to knock it and, you're just complaining because everyone else is complaining, it's like the cool thing to do, or if you think that it's like it has no place being on Broadway, or that it's too ambitious, like, I don't know. I don't even know what to say to that. Too ambitious? I don't know what to say. And if you say it's too dangerous, all the people in the show, they're in the show. I'm pretty sure that they know what they're into, they know what they were getting into, they know what is going on, and if you ask any of them, they love it. They're having a blast, and they have faith in the show, and, just good for them. So, that's how I feel about it. That's my opinion of Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark 2.0. And, yeah, that's all I can say, really. So let me know in the comments what you thought of Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark version 2.0 if you saw it. Let me know if you saw 1.0, and if you can compare it for me, what you think, or if you agree or disagree with any of my comparisons. Let me know just anything you want about Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, and that's pretty much it.